Today we're going to be looking at some fresh ideas in the KaspaChess Gambit, which I'm also calling the Bishop's Gambit for now. Because it involves this early development of the black bishop, right? Let me show you one new exciting trap in the KaspaChess and just some new tricks you can use. Say your opponent plays pawn to e4, then you go e5 and knight f3, then bishop c5. This is what is known as the KaspaChess Gambit. Like I said in my yesterday's video, most people don't seem to see this free pawn here, especially in blitz and bullet. They just remove bishop c4, sometimes bishop b5. So this is the main area of my meat for now. Here is a quick trap for you guys, a quick trick rather. Instead of playing knight c6, which is the main line trying to transpose to the Lucchini Gambit, you still have an option to go knight f6. Yep, so with this move, you are kind of giving white another chance to see this move, knight takes e5. You're telling them, hey, I know you just removed bishop c4. Please take my pawn. I need you to take my pawn on e5. Once this happens, now you can surprise them with knight c6. Kind of the Traxler counter gambit, except that white's knight is not on g5 this time. Now, just a disclosure, this works pretty much well in rapid blitz and bullet. What's the catch? If knight takes f7, first you want to make white lose their right to castle. If king takes, now you have knight takes e4. The top played move here is king g1. And this is where you can go queen h4, wanting to checkmate. People play queen e2 in this position, also pinning this knight. But this is where you can go knight d4. If queen e3, again the top played move, you can simply take on c2. Now it is the rook that suffers. Okay, let's try queen f3. Enough of this. That's all we wanted because we have queen e1 check. And if queen f1, we can simply take, and after king takes, we have rook f8. We are going to win many pieces. The rook on the corner and this knight, even the bishop. Again, after knight c6 and knight takes, then bishop that, king takes and knight takes e4 check. Say again white plays king g1 and you go queen h4. Since queen e2 runs into knight d4, which is another attack, you will see most of your opponents playing either queen f3 or queen f1. In this case, you can just play rook f8. Pinning the knight to the queen and all that. If g3, you have queen h5 and the game is back to equality. Sooner or later, you're going to win back some material, get back everything and that. For example, d3, you have d5, d takes e4. The whole purpose was to cut the communication between the bishop and the knight. So rook takes and the game continues. You're going to win back some material. After rook f8, instead of pawn to g3, if white plays pawn to d3, first you can go knight c5 in this position. Why not knight d6? Because, white has queen e2, right? An intermediate move that's going to disturb your piece. So knight c5 also gets ready for this. If queen e2, at least you have knight e6 and you are safe. If white takes, you can just take back. They can't take. And if they play something like knight g5 or knight e5, now that's when you can go knight d4 because the queen is on e2 and life goes on. From here, you may even checkmate your opponent. Again, there are so many things that you can do after king g1. The idea is just to continue with the attack. Of course, at this stage of the game, your opening is shaky, so just remember to continue with your attack. The more you attack, the more you give your opponent many chances to blunder. The best try here after queen h4 is queen f3. This is what most people do, but again, both queen e2 and queen f3 just invites knight d4. There's nothing much. The worst would be a draw in this position for black. Queen is under attack. They play queen e3, pinning the knight once again, but just like before, you have knight takes c2 and all those lines I showed you will repeat. One last line in the knight takes f7 line where you sacrifice your bishop and they take, then you go knight takes e4. It's not every time you're going to see your opponents going back to g1. Some play king back to e1, but this is the easiest due to queen h4. After g3, you have knight takes g3. They can't even give a check. The rook is hanging. If hg, you have queen takes, and after king e2, you have knight d4 separating the king from the queen, and that's how you're going to win that. If they play bishop f1 to cover the check, yeah, you can just castle short. Look at that. So you can see that even after knight takes e5, king e1 is not a good option. Even king e2 due to knight d4 again. But I love queen e7 in this specific line because I'm just one move away from winning opponent's queen. Others go as far as playing king e3. But against this, there's this beautiful line to memorize. You go queen f6, let them take your rook. If they play rook f1 or something like that, you have queen d4. You're going to win everything. Oh, if they take your knight, you can do that and win the bishop, it's fine, but the direct line is to go pawn to d5. This is check. That's how you want to win the bishop. If bishop takes, now you go queen d4. This is check. After king f3, you want to win everything like that. Or simply go bishop g4 and win the queen. But you see, after sacrificing our bishop on f2, white has an option not to take. They can play king f1, which most people love doing. Now it is time for you to realize your queen is under attack, so you go queen e7. If knight takes h8, you open up the center. How? By going pawn to d5. Now here is where this dubious gambit becomes tricky, you guys. It only takes one wrong move, which is normal looking for white to make in order for them to die quickly. For example, if they play bishop b3 in this position, you can simply go bishop g4 and their queen is dead. Okay, what if they just take? Now we simply go knight d4. They can't do much. Again, if you check the Lichess database, people play pawn to c3 here, after which you can safely go bishop g4 just like before. They think queen a4 check is the main savior, but after pawn to c6 and king takes f2, it is black who is doing better. So these are kinds of gambits where you give the board to your opponent in the early stages of the game that you know they can't hold on to for a longer period of time. White needs to continue playing accurate moves and correct moves all the time. Otherwise, if they make one simple mistake, they are gone. That's why I said try this in rapid, blitz, and bullet. Again, back to move 3. If white doesn't see your free pawn on e5 and let's say they go bishop c4, again you can go knight f6. After knight takes e5, you give them a chance to take on f7. If they take with their bishop this time, go king f8. I mean, they just want 2 pawns, right? And they have many problems to worry about. If knight takes c6, the top played move, which also attacks your queen, you just take back like that. They're going to play bishop b3. This is what humans do, by the way. Don't try this against engines or stockfish. Here we are playing with human psychology. After bishop b3, again you can simply go bishop g4. This almost traps the white queen. If pawn to f3, remember this line, you guys. Knight takes e4. Point is, white can't even take your knight due to bishop takes queen. If they take your light squad bishop, now you go queen h4. If pawn to g3, yes, you can take, but that looks too risky if you think about it. So the main move here is bishop f2 check. And wherever white goes, let's say king f1, we don't want to take. The move is queen h3. If that, we go queen takes g4. If the queen comes out, I mean, there are so many ways we can try to checkmate them. So they will go back most likely. Then you can simply grab a free queen. That's it. So of course, knight f6 is not objectively the best at master level, but I mean, I use these traps against fellow humans, even 2400s, and I do get good results, especially in blitz and bullet. People don't just have much time to think. Now, lastly, if white takes on c6, this kind of transposes the game back to the Stafford Gambit if you think about it, where we have the knight already sitting on f6. And note that white can't play pawn to d4. See, if white plays the top played move, which is castle shot, we can simply go knight g4. Still, white can't play pawn to d4. The idea is to go queen h4 and checkmate. If they play pawn to h3, just an example, you should know that knight takes f2 here works. Point is, if rook takes, we have bishop takes, and after king takes, we go queen d4 check and win our piece back. So after knight g4, most of your advanced opponents are more likely going to play queen f3. This also threatens checkmate in one, if you think about it. So you have a lot of things to do in this position. Of course, you can play queen e7, you can castle short, and frankly speaking, knight e5 is the main move in this position, just to get rid of that bishop and continue playing a normal game. Sometimes you can go pawn to h5 here, knowing they can't take on f7. But let me show you something even more crazier. After queen f3, instead of playing knight e5, the main move, followed by pawn to h5 and all that, try this, queen h4. Not objectively the best, according to engines, but at human level, who wouldn't want to take on f7 trying to checkmate? These are kinds of moves you will see humans making. Again, remember, we are playing with human psychology. We're not going to be playing engines. So here you just play king d8 only move, and there's little or nothing white can do to stop our aggressive attack. If pawn to h3, you can simply go rook f8. What are they going to do? By the way, the queen is almost trapped, in case you didn't see. So the only sensible move for white is to take on g7, but that allows us to play rook takes f2. look at this bishop. Next is to take and checkmate. You might think queen g8 check does something, but nope. At worst, we may even retreat our rook. That would be open check followed by rook takes queen. But here you can just play king e7 and I mean that's it. There's nothing white can do. They are just dead. This rook f7 and the queen is dead because of that discovery. Once again, after knight takes c6 and dc, if white castles short, just remember to go knight g4 and the rest to follow. Note that pawn to d3 doesn't even work. Again, due to knight g4 in this position, there's something there. If castle short, this even becomes much easier, wanting to checkmate. Now I understand if pawn to h3, you have knight takes f2 again. In the long run, you will even sacrifice on h3 if, I mean, that allows, for example, rook takes, queen takes, king h2. Here, see this cold-blooded move, you guys. Instead of sacrificing or doing whatever, you just go bishop g4 and there's nothing white can do here. For example, if they take, you have bishop d6 and mate on the next move. For example, that and that. If white takes with a pawn here like this, you have queen h4. This is mate in one. That's another trick for you guys. But there's this other thing white can do after you play queen h4 back on move 7. Instead of playing pawn to h3, they can play bishop f4. They think they are guarding the h2 pawn. But after that, you can either take on f2 with your knight or even better with the bishop this time. Because if rook takes, you're going to win everything. Queen takes, that, and queen takes f4. Oh, let's say after bishop takes, if white doesn't take with the rook and say they go king h1, still you can attack that bishop. If rook takes, by the way, you have knight takes and win the queen. They have to move somehow. If bishop g3, you have bishop takes. So they play bishop takes c7, but after king d7, that bishop is dead. Or bishop e5, we simply have knight takes e5, and if this, we have bishop takes g3. And hey, if you really care about this channel and want to see us grow, click the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to turn on the bell notification icon for all my content. That way you won't miss any of my future uploads. Lastly, to get this free study PGN that I'm using in this video, simply scroll all the way down to the comment section and click the first link that you see, which will redirect you to a page that will ask you to subscribe before getting this PGN for free.